Hello and welcome to Arts Alive Music. I'm Stephen Pratt. In this week's show, we visit the Liverpool Welsh Choral as they prepare for their upcoming performance of Let It Snow, which takes place on Sunday the 14th of December at the Philharmonic Hall here in Liverpool. And joining us live in the studio tonight is the Welsh Choral's musical director, Keith Orrell. Founded in 1900 as the Liverpool Welsh Choral Union, the choir has been associated with the greatest talent of British conductors, including Harry Evans, John Pritchard, Charles Groves. We've had Gibson, Wilcox, Hanford and many, many others. In 2003, the Welsh Choral Union changed its name to the Liverpool Welsh Choral. And additionally to performing regularly in Liverpool's Philharmonic Hall, the choir is committed to bringing music into the community of Merseyside, working in tandem with all local organisations that wish to bring quality arts to the people. Regarded as one of the finest cultural assets in Merseyside, in 2013, the choir was awarded the Freedom of the City of Liverpool. We joined them during rehearsal for their 2014 Christmas concert.
Glory, hallelujah, magnificent light, hallelujah, a child is born, hallelujah.
I'm a member of Liverpool Welsh Choral. Hopefully you've heard of us. We're a great local choir known as musical ambassadors for Merseyside. We've done a lot of work in the community. We worked with the Merchant Navy for a tribute to Titanic, and recently we worked with the Army and the Powell's Memorial Fund to present Remember at the Cathedral. We've also travelled very widely. We visited New York, we visited Edinburgh, Dublin, Germany, and this year we received a standing ovation in Prague, so come and join us.
I've been in the Welsh Choral for 10 years. During that time we have done an enormous variety of music, from big classical concerts to jazz to singing on a small tugboat in the Albert Dock. The last concert we did barely a week ago, we supported the Italian tenor Andrea Bocelli in one of only 3 concerts he's done in the UK. This one was at the Liverpool Echo Arena. Come and join us. We're always surprised at this huge variety of music we do, and it's great fun. So it's very informal.
Problems we had. That's it. Right in the middle of that D as well. Okay, that's on. And go much louder. It's loud then.
We've got the Christmas concert coming up. We always do a Christmas concert in the Liverpool Philharmonic Hall every year. We've got a concert in McGull in March. We've also got supporting the 175th anniversary of the Cunard liners. When the 3 liners meet in the River Mersey next May, we've been invited to sing at that.
Hello, I've been in this choir, believe it or not, for 51 years. It's been a long journey, but a very happy one. We used to be quite a few Welsh people here. We still have some here still. So there'll be a welcome for anybody who comes to work to Liverpool to join the Liverpool Welsh Choral. So croeso I chi gyd.
Joining me tonight is Keith Orrell, the current musical director of the Liverpool Welsh Choral. Hello Keith, nice to have you here.
Hello, delighted to be here.
Let it snow. It's not very ambitious. It's not the sort of weather I look forward to, but I always look forward to your concerts. How do you programme such an event?
I think we have to bear in mind that we want a lot of people to come to our concerts. Therefore, we need pieces which will entice them, such as Let It Snow, and popular Christmas items, as well as some interesting choral pieces as well, including a little bit of Welsh.
And you always do well for audiences. I know I've been to your concerts in the past, so whatever the way you're doing it right. You also have some guest artists, don't you?
We do. We have Hugh Edwards, of course, who's with the BBC, and a very familiar face, and we're hoping that he will present the show really well. And we've also got the Northrop Silver Band, who've been our regular guests for quite a few years, and they play wonderfully. In fact, they're getting better every year.
I've seen them. I think they're absolutely cracking. I couldn't agree more. And they do a very nice mix of the kind of brass band spectacular pieces, and they do some very, very good arrangements of classical pieces as well. They're absolutely terrific.
They are great. Tom Weiss, their current conductor, has done enormous good work with them.
And you often bring younger people in as well, don't you?
We do. We're bringing the Met Girls Choir, and that's the first time they will have been with us, and they'll be singing some of their traditional music, which we want, and also they'll be joining in with some of our lighter stuff as well.
So for people who are not familiar with how a choir is put together and works for an event like this, how many rehearsals would you have to have for an event like the Sundays?
Probably about 8 rehearsals, and the rehearsals last about 2 hours or just a little bit more. That's about normal for Christmas. Sometimes it's a bit of a rush if we've had a concert quite close to Christmas as well. And I tend to program it so some of the music is already familiar with for the choir, so we're not learning completely new music.
It must be quite challenging though, because for a programme which has to be popular, there's obviously Christmas music that everybody knows, and I know that you incorporate lots of carols and people get a good sing, the audience gets to sing as well. But keeping every year the challenge to come up with a programme, do you find that a problem or do you find it a great challenge?
It's a major challenge. The major problem is finding music which we can sing with brass band. There's plenty of music with orchestra and with organ and piano, so that's the biggest challenge. And just finding music which is interesting for the choir as well. They don't want to be singing just familiar music, although they enjoy doing that as well.
So you've got 8 rehearsals. You've got a team within the choir who you have to sell the concerts, don't you? You have to make sure that all the people in the choir take a part in promoting. You can't just rely on the theatre. So your choir is very active, I know, in trying to raise the audience.
Amazingly active. It's not just about handing posters out, it's about talking to people and about promoting in as many ways as they can think. In fact, it's amazing what the choir does to attract people, and it's not just a question of bringing their friends. It's a matter of attracting people who are perhaps important in the city. You know, people who can influence other people as well.
This I find with your choir, it's very much an old-fashioned choral society, in the sense that it's a gathering of people who really want to sing together, who promote what they do, who make sure that they get people who come to listen to them. I find there's a very nice feel about it, and you must take an awful lot of the credit for that. And I know that the choir really responds very well to you. You must enjoy that relationship with them.
It's a wonderful relationship. And I've got to say, they are just such wonderful people to work with. And we laugh when we get it wrong, and we strive to get it right. And we often do get it right, and our audiences appreciate what we do.
And the one thing that I do notice is you've got this marvellous age range in the choir, and maybe in the second part of today's programme I want to go on and talk to you a little bit about the whole sort of issue of how you put choirs together. But it is a very noticeable feature of your choir, and of course it's a choir that's been on Merseyside for an extremely long time. So, you know, some of the people in the choir have known a lot of that time, haven't they?
Indeed, and, you know, you speak to people and say, I used to be in the Welsh Choral. I know somebody who was in the Welsh Choral. It's got a great history, and I'm very proud to be part of that.
And so let's make sure everybody knows exactly when this concert is. It's on Sunday the 14th.
Sunday in the afternoon, so you can get out there and do a little bit of Christmas shopping or go and have a bit of a meal before or after. It's at 2:30, and you'll be in for a treat.
And then in the Philharmonic Hall.
Indeed.
Keith will join me after the break when we talk a little bit more about Keith's career and the Welsh Choral. Welcome back. My studio guest, Keith Orrell, conductor of the Liverpool Welsh Choral, was telling us before the break about the concert that they're giving on the 14th of December at the Philharmonic Hall. I want now, Keith, to talk a little bit more broadly about your work as a choral conductor, because you're very experienced, I know that. I think maybe we should say that I first met you in the 1970s, so I have followed your career very closely.
Indeed, yes. You gave me a prize. Do you remember that?
I do.
That was for composition, and it wasn't a choral piece either.
Oh, very good.
So,
Yes, no, it was an
so there we
instrumental
are.
piece.
Yes.
Yeah. So you've been associated with choral music for really quite a long time, haven't you? I know you're a good singer. I'm interested in how you became a choral conductor.
That's an interesting one, because I think there are more mechanisms in place now for teaching choral conducting. But when I started, it was a case of seeing other people conduct and having a desire to do it. I started off in the church. In fact, I still do work in the church. And I had a church choir in where I grew up in Blackburn. And I must have been about 15, 16 when I started conducting. Came to university. I came here to Liverpool University and got involved in choral singing and eventually a bit of choral conducting here. And it moved on from there.
And you've moved on to all kinds of different types of choral conducting. You've worked with the Halle Choir,
Yes.
preparing choirs for orchestra and choir concerts. You work with the William Byrd Singers. It must be very interesting to switch around between, for instance, working with the Welsh Choral on a Wednesday night and then working with other kinds of choirs. How do you find that?
I love that because every rehearsal is a challenge and every choir is a challenge. You have to approach them differently. I have a chamber choir in Manchester who require a pretty academic approach. And the choir here in Liverpool, it's more about enthusing and teaching in such a way that they feel that they can, all of them can sing it. And then I work with children, for instance, and again, that's a totally different approach. And in the church, where it's more of a question of how quickly can we learn this music in time for the service.
So what does your week look like?
Where do we start? Perhaps Monday I might be free, although there might be a church choir rehearsal. Tuesday there's probably a meeting somewhere. Wednesday Welsh Choral. Thursday I have 3 groups connected with my work with Wigan Music Service. I have a junior choir and a youth choir, and then I conduct the orchestra after that, the youth orchestra. Fridays usually is free. And then Saturdays we may well have a concert. Sunday we'll have church in the morning, and then William Byrd Singers over in Manchester in the afternoon.
How on earth do you keep up with all the repertoire for that?
It's scary. You try to stay ahead and apologise when you don't answer emails quickly.
Now, you therefore face a lot of different challenges in terms of training voices.
Yeah.
How important to you is the difference between people taking part and doing it well?
I don't think you should separate the two, actually. Taking part is important, obviously, but if anybody wants to sing in a choir, usually they want to sing well. They don't want to be seen to be, weak in any way. They want you to bring the best out in them. So obviously you are giving them tools and knowledge and confidence in order to achieve that.
So I know you to be a good singer. Do you regard the training that you're doing is actually very much a vocal training as well as a learning how to do it together? So
Yes.
that we all know you've got to get a show on the road and they've all got to do the same thing at the same time. Do you feel that you're imparting something too about vocal training as well, or would you expect them to pick that up on the way?
I hope I'm giving them some useful information about staying in tune, about staying in time, about using the breath. I always start a rehearsal with a warm-up, and it may be related to the music we're going to sing, or it may be merely just to get the breath going and get the whole singing mechanism going. But the vocal side is absolutely important. You can't expect singers just to sing.
And you're dealing with very wide
Yeah.
age range, aren't you? But I mean, I think one of the, I mentioned this earlier on, one of the most striking things I think about the Welsh Choral is the age range of the singers. And that must provide some sort of challenges with you. I know that some choirs, for instance, have an age sort of line at the top in which they say, right, once you're at this age, you can't stay. Obviously, you don't do that at the Welsh Choral.
Well, we do audition every singer, and it's obviously if you sense a voice is aging, you may talk to them about that. But it's more about being positive, not saying you're no longer good enough. It's more about what you can do in order to continue to be useful in the choir. And some singers eventually realise that they are probably getting beyond what they can happily achieve within the group. But I don't have any particular strong view about moving people on if they're getting older. I think as long as they look after their voices, they can sing for a long time.
Good. Now, my first concert, seeing the Welsh Choral Union as it was then, I think was in the early 1960s.
Right, yeah.
That was Malcolm Sargent conducting, so that gives a bit away about my age. And in those days, I can remember very grand occasions at the hall, packed out. Now, we all face a challenge, all of us involved in choral music face a challenge these days, that you can't fill a large hall in the ways that we used to do, and just put on a great oratorio. How have Welsh Choral faced this in recent times?
It's been a challenge because I think there's nothing better for me than to say we'd love to do Messiah and we'd love to do some Elgar, so the Dream of Gerontius, and another great choral work, and have an orchestra on each concert and fill the hall. Even the most popular oratorios these days are difficult to attract very large audiences. I mean, there are a few exceptions. Every so often a piece comes along which is very popular. For instance, Carl Jenkins' The Arm Man Mass. We invited Carl, who's our president, to conduct, and of course that was a big pull, particularly when he first wrote it. We did bring in a big audience. But as a general rule, we just have to be more inventive, got to think around the programme a little more. For instance, earlier on this year we did a concert called Remember. It wasn't in the Philharmonic Hall, it was in the Anglican Cathedral, but it was still a big scale concert. And it wasn't just about the music. We managed to perform Elgar and Vaughan Williams within that programme, but we also sang some of the songs that the Pals sang, and we brought the story of Liverpool and the First World War into the whole programme and integrated it into the programme. It attracted a lot of extra people who might not have come to a straight choral concert.
Yes, I came to it. It was great. And I think that's a very good example. You do move your venues around a little bit as well, too, don't you? And I think that you go to churches, you go around the city a little bit, don't you?
Well, that's important that we take our music out to the community, and that's part of our remit, really.
So has the choir got any ambitions now? I mean, we've talked about its history and about what it used to do, and how we're all of us, facing how we deal with choral concerts in the 21st century. What would you like to see the choir going on to do from here?
Oh, that's a big question. I'd love to think that we can still do some of the great choral works, because after all, the choir is at its best in that area. But equally, we've got to look at popular music and look at things that the choir have never done before. For instance, the tradition is with large choirs that they sing with their music. We've tried things from memory, which has been a new area for the choir. And we've created little programmes that have been interesting, rather than just the grand stuff.
And I've not touched on this earlier, really, but that adjective Welsh. Do you have to be Welsh to be in the choir?
No, certainly not. I mean, listen to me. I must confess that I'm very confident generally with language when it comes to my training of the choir, but whenever it comes to Welsh, I don't get involved, because there are people in the choir obviously who know a lot more than me and can speak the language better than me. But there are many people from all sorts of backgrounds, from all over the country, and not just Welsh, but of course we still have that wonderful Welsh core of members who really contribute something special, I think, to the group.
And that, historically, that's how the choir started.
Indeed.
It
Yeah.
started as a group of Welsh people wanting, obviously, to retain their identity through choral music in Liverpool.
Indeed. Yes, the history of the choir is, as I understand it, around 1900. The people who moved from North Wales into Liverpool wanted not just to sing in chapel, but to sing larger works together, and that's how the choir started.
So you work with any Welsh composers? Is that something for the future, maybe, to continue that link?
I would love to think that we do. I mean, obviously, we've worked recently with Carl Jenkins, who's a high-profile composer. We commissioned a work from him as well, which we proudly sang. It was a Te Deum, I think, that he wrote for us. The one or two other composers, for instance, in the Christmas concert we're doing on Sunday, we're performing a piece by Michael Williams, who's a very fine composer, who I've just discovered in recent years. And we'll be doing one of his carols with brass band, beautifully written.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Keith. Thank you for joining us today. And thank you for joining us tonight. We look forward to seeing you next week for more Arts Alive music.